last class, we went over the last movement. So tonight is the night to review. If you have any questions, you can go on the computer, just go to the chat thing and send me a message and say, I'd like to go over single whip again, or can you do this again? Don't be afraid to ask, because everybody will appreciate going over whatever. I'm sure they have the same questions you do. If I don't get any questions, I'm just going to keep going over the things I think we need to go over. We want to learn this so that we can do it without help, okay? But there are, once again, there's all the videos I sent you. If you ever can't get back to those links because they're not like generally publicly available on YouTube. If you can't find one, tell me and I'll resend you the link to it. So there's always ways to review this. And then of course, if you want to go on and learn the second or third section, I've got people signing up for that, but we'll take a break for a week, and then in November, I think it's the 4th Wednesday again, we start and start learning even more. So, but we want to know this and be able to do this really without thinking about it. And that's my goal. You learn this and you can practice on your own. It's great to practice with a group. It feels really encouraging to have other people doing the same thing. But at the same time, if you're not with a group, you shouldn't let it go. You need to practice, and that's where you get the most benefit is daily practice. So that's where we want to strive for. Okay, so with the last movements, we were doing the deflect down. I'll step this way, we did our roll back. Just to review, I'll show you real quick. So remember, we did the last brush knee, push, rise. We close the hand, deflect down, relax, sink, step out. We do the parry. Hand comes across the front of our body. Sink forward, step, push, and push with a closed right hand. Then we did the withdraw arms. Remember, this right hand comes over the left hand comes under, pull the arm out, withdraw the arm, and then push. And finally, we turn back to the front, rise, hands go up like they're floating, big circle, turn the left foot, turn the right foot. I'm going to turn around so you can see this. So turn, and then as the hands cross, once again, the right wrist goes underneath, both palms facing me. As you turn and your palms face you, your right wrist will come on the outside. And then finally, I'm going to move up so you can see this. A little bit sideways. When our hands are crossed in front, remember they're not right next to our body when we do this, they're out a little bit. Just kind of like a ward off, instead of a ward off like this, they're crossed arms. Then we just fold the hands inward and down, sinking. And then finally we rise, hands come out just a little bit, just like when we start, and then just let them float back to your side. And then I suggest standing for a minute or two. Just like when we start. Remember, when you start, you just kind of want to forget about everything except for your Tai Chi. So don't worry about, oh, I need to go shopping, or I need to do this, or I need to do that, or whatever. Just try to be here in the moment. Think about your Tai Chi. Just try to take a breath, let everything go, and start your Tai Chi. So usually I'll say, when we begin, I say, take a breath. The reason I do that is because on the first movement, generally you exhale when you start. Now, when we've been doing this, we're going at my rhythm, so it's not exactly the same as you doing it yourself when you're trying to follow me. So your breathing rhythm will be a little bit different. So when you're practicing by yourself, you want to go slowly, and I think, as I said before, you'll find a point where your breathing will match up, your rising and sinking will match up with your natural breathing cycle. Not every movement, but a lot of times it will. But we want to go slow. We don't want to hurry through it unless you have no other choice. I won't have time to do this today unless I hurry. That's okay, but just to remember the movements. But you want to try to go slow and be very conscious of your movements. Slow, rise, sink. So find something that's comfortable for you. And then when you join me in class, And I do go slow in class, and you probably may not go that slow at home, but I want to give you like a baseline for this is how slow we can go. And you could go slower too. It becomes a little bit more difficult to do it, extremely slow. But when you slow down, once again, it's helping with your balance. You get better balance by going slow. It's easy to just walk around, right? But to take a step and go slowly, it takes a lot more balance to do that. By the way, one thing with the steps, and I think we talked about this in the beginning, but the idea was stepping like a cat. So you remember, once again, the cat's kind of pouncing up on something, just very slow and light, and that's what we want to do. When we take our steps, we want to be centered, slow, and light, or brush knee, step out, rise, sink. So when you don't have your weight 100%, you have a tendency to have a heavier step, heavier shift. So that's another thing, another goal to work on. I don't expect you to do it in just the 2 months you've been practicing, but it can take time to do that. It can take 6 months or a year. It might take longer. It just depends on you. But that's your goal, is to be able to sink all your weight and then step out. Whatever movement you're doing, any step you're doing, should be light and then focused. Okay, so once again, let's go back to that last movement. I'm going to face this direction because when we practice, that's the direction we end up. My back will be turned, but we'll be doing the hands crossing and down, and practice that several times. Then we'll go over the whole form and work on different aspects of it. I'll just think of stuff maybe that we should go over, different pointers to go over. So let's start with the last roll back and brush knee. Last brush knee and push. So roll back, rise, sink and turn. Brush knee. And push. Right foot comes forward, rise on the right. Left hand comes up, close the right hand, turn the left foot, sink on the left leg. Step out, rise, parry, turn the left foot, turn the right foot. Shift your weight forward, step out, rise on the right, push, sink forward, push for the closed right hander. Right foot should be at 45 degrees. Rise, turn a little bit to your left hand goes under your right arm, and then turn back, withdrawing your arm, pulling it out. And then the hands turn over and push with both hands. Sink forward. Remember, when our push, we don't have our hands far apart. You're pushing like somebody on chest your size. So you push forward. The weight is on the left leg. Rise. The weight shifts to the right. That allows you to turn your left foot to the front. Start turning. Put your weight on your left foot. Turn your right foot to the front. And then sink on the front leg. As you sink, your right hand will go underneath, and then you shift your weight back, rise on the left leg, drawing up the right foot. Hands are crossed, facing palms in front of you, like so. And then fold your hands in, sink, palms face behind, rise, they come out just a tiny bit, and sink. No, I'm sorry, don't sink, just let your hands float in. Okay, so once again, all 3 sections of the form, there's 3 sections to the entire long form, they all end the same way. So you've learned it in the first, it's the same way in the second, and the final ending is exactly like that. So there are lots of repetitions in the form from here on out. There's quite a few new movements too, but things once again like grasp the sparrow's tail will repeat throughout the form many times. Brush knee and push will repeat many times. Left ward off, this kind of thing will repeat. many times. Single whip repeats a lot of times. So you've got, like I said, the basic foundations. You've got all the primary movements, the foundation movements of learning Tai Chi. And with this, if you don't go learn anything else, you've got enough really to work on for the rest of your life, just to work on these basic movements. Okay, so let's do this again. Deflect down the last brush knee. So roll back, step out, rise, sink and turn, brush knee. And push, rise, close the right hand, so light fist, sink, deflect down, parry, turn the waist, turn the arms, turn the waist. Turn the right foot, right hand comes by your hip, like so. Shift your weight forward, hit 100% of your weight, then you can step forward. Rise and push, and then as you push with a closed right hand, you're turning your waist and turning your right foot 45 degrees. Then sink back, rise. Left hand goes under the right arm, turn, withdraw your arm, sink. And push. Rise, turn the left foot. Turn the right foot, sink. Shift your weight back, rise, drop the right foot, arms are crossed. Fold them in, turn sideways. And sink, palms facing behind you. Rise slowly, and then just let your hands float by your side. Okay, let's do that again. Roll back. Push. Deflect down. Rise. Turn the left foot. Put weight on it. Turn the right foot forward. Then sink forward. But don't bend forward. Just sink your tailbone down. Then shift your weight back. Rise. Drop your foot. I'm turning sideways just so you can see. Then fold your hands in. Sink. Rise. Hands come out a little bit. And then just let your hands float to your side. So when we start Tai Chi, other points, and I've mentioned this before, we move to our left, or if we're facing north, we tend to move to the west. And so wherever you're at, plan for that movement. Plan that I need space in this direction. I'll start here facing this way. I'm going to turn this way for a few moves, and then the rest of them, brush knees and deflect down, I end up over here. So if you're in a room, you can kind of say, okay, I need to stand wherever. When you're practicing in your yard, I need to stand here so I have enough space. Also, if you practice in your yard, you are going to wear your grass out. And wherever, if you have grass in that spot, you are going to wear it out. So just be aware of that, because we're turning our feet and moving, things like that. You'll have a little patch and have a little pattern that will develop the more you practice. So if you don't want that, you might move around in your yard a little bit. Take a breath and sink. Okay, good. So that was going through the whole form at a nice slow speed. Once again, it should take somewhere between, say, about 5 and 8 minutes to practice, which isn't a lot. I'm sure everybody's got 5 or 8 minutes in their day. I would suggest practicing at least twice a day, maybe 3 times if you can, to really get better. If you practice once a day, you'll kind of know it. But if you start practicing 2 or 3 times, you'll get good at it. So it's not a lot of time, but it can make a world of difference in how you feel. And the more you practice, the better. If you could practice, if you wanted to do that over and over again and do a half-hour a day, that would be really good too. But if that was the case, then I would suggest learning the rest of the form because it keeps it more interesting. There's a lot of, follow some groups on Facebook and things like that, practice Tai Chi, or just seeing different comments about it. And, people saying they get bored sometimes with Tai Chi. But I think if that's all you're learning is the short form, and all it is just 5 minutes of practice, which is what most short forms are, and yeah, I can see that. But when you start learning the long form, and in particular, learning how to refine those movements, then it becomes kind of infinitely interesting. One thing that is common with people who are beginners or even been practicing a while is still working on getting that idea of moving the body together. Don't move your arms independently. So for example, on the white crane spreads its wings, when you move, my arm's coming up and I'm turning my waist, making this movement of, there's a turn, we call it connection. So you feel connected as opposed to just kind of bringing my arm up. So you want your legs bent and you rise, all one movement. Okay, let's practice that for a minute. So let's start with let's start from raised hands. And then we'll push forward, we'll do the shoulder push. So roll back. And shoulder push. Then toes turn in, rise, sink. Then from here, right leg is bent. As you rise, your arm comes up. Rise, turn a little bit to the northwest, and then sink. So then just put your foot out. Try that again, so arms across. Try to get that idea of being connected. One even movement. Try to feel everything's connected. It's not independent. The same thing goes for our last movement, where you deflect down. So when you turn, it's your body's turning and your arm comes down and face you. So body's turning, and then as my arm comes across, I'm turning my waist. Okay, it's not just going like this. This is how people do this in karate. They would just block like this, just use arm strength. In Tai Chi, it's the whole body turning. So I'm just holding my hand here so you can kind of see that better. My whole body's turning, and then it comes over, and then rise and push. Once again, this push comes from your rear legs. Push, try to feel that connection. And then as you sink forward, once again, you're turning your waist a little bit. From here, you turn your waist and you extend your arms. So you have that push. And I believe I told you this before, but I'll repeat it. But in boxing, for example, you don't see boxers doing karate punches, right? The boxers learn to use their whole body. I'm stepping a little bit more, but use their whole body. You're turning the waist, and that's where they get their power. They're doing exactly what we're learning in Tai Chi, but of course we're not doing it for competition or things like that. We're just learning how to do good body movement. But you get your strength from that. That's coming up. Like if you watch like boxers in slow motion or things like that, you may not be interested in boxing, so maybe it's not a good example, but if you are, they will turn, use their whole body and get that strength. Other sports use that too. It's finding that connection, and Tai Chi can translate to a lot of different sports because if you're using, your body, you turn your body into it as you swing, right? So you're not just hitting with a bat like this. You're turning your whole body, and you're probably using your legs a bit. I'm not a baseball player, but I can see that you would do that. Or golf, same thing with golf. You're turning your waist, kind of thing. So Tai Chi can be applied to a lot of different things, but we have to learn that connection. And once again, it takes a while to develop that. But you need to be aware that we're always moving the parts together. Okay, let's try again let's go through the very beginning, and I'm going to talk our way through it just to review. So I'll face you actually with the very first part so we can review this. So once again, hands by our side. So the first part, I always say take a breath, and if you're practicing by yourself, take a breath too. And when you sink, you exhale. That sets your normal rhythm. So sink, your hands come by your side. Then as you rise, I'm going to step closer so you can see my hands. As you rise, hands turn palm inward and circle inward. Tiger's mouth is open. There's a little bit of space between your fingers, so your fingers aren't tight. They're not tight, but they're open a little bit. Turn inward and sink. When you sink, your hands come down. The tiger's mouth would almost like touch your body. It doesn't touch, but it's kind of like that idea. It's close to your body, but it's open. And then palms are facing behind. So once again, we start palms together, hands come out, we sink, and then rise, turn the hands, turn the wrists, and sink, palms behind. Then we rise. Remember, everything together. So as you straighten your legs, your arms come up. And once again, you don't have to sink deep. You can sink just a tiny bit, but you need to coordinate. If you just sink a little bit, arms are going to rise a little bit faster. If you sink a little more, your arms still rise, but maybe not as fast. But you want to coordinate. However much you sink, you want to coordinate the rising and sinking. You don't want to straighten up and have your arms come up like so. So try to work on that. They come up. Okay, so from here, arms rise and then sink. palms face down. My elbows are slightly bent. Okay, so from here they were straight, and I sink. Drop my elbows a little bit. Shoulders are relaxed. Elbows are relaxed. It's not, elbows aren't up. They're down. They're relaxed. Okay, and then you can see my hands are about shoulder width apart, so they're not out here. They're shoulder width apart. Then from here, I think I'll stay close so you can see my hands better. Then you rise, draw the hands in, palms facing outward. And finally, we're going to sink. Turn the hands in, but the fingers don't touch, but turn them inward. It's like brushing down in front of your body. So turn them in, let your hands go down, sinking. And once again, you want to coordinate with your hands coming down with the bending of your legs so that when your hands come down, you're at the bottom of your sink. Then from here, step back a little bit. From here, we're going to rise, hands come up in front of us, and then turn to our left a little bit and sink on the left leg. Okay, so our feet are fixed, and we can't turn a whole lot without being, probably not good for our waist to do that. We just turn almost 45 degrees, not even quite that much. Sink a little bit, and then we shift our weight on our left leg. So when we do that, that frees up the right leg. Remember, in order to take our steps, we can't be double weighted. Double weighted means having equal weight on both legs, or actually like in both arms too. So we sink on the left, then as we rise, the right hand will come up, left hand stays low, we're going to turn the right foot, and then we go into our hold the ball. Remember, that was in our first class. Now you've done it hundreds of times already in this couple of weeks. So hold the ball. So I'm going to turn around so you can follow this. So our palms are facing behind, legs bent. Rise, turn to the left, sink. Rise, turn the right foot, hold the ball. Now here's the spot once again where we're going to make sure all your weight's here on that right leg, and then you're going to step forward. And once again, the common mistake is for people to step in front of their other foot. It's very easy to do that. So you have to think about stepping this direction out towards the diagonal. Rise, sink and turn. Then from here you rise, right hand comes up, turn the left foot, put weight on it, turn the right foot. Weight's on the left leg at this point. This arm is extended, toe is up on the right foot. Left hand is elbow bent, it's not up. Elbows bent, shoulder relaxed, hand about shoulder height. And once again, we turn to the diagonal. Then from here, because the weight's on the left leg, we rise, we can turn the right foot in, shift our weight forward, turn our left heel in, and then sink back onto the left leg. From here, from this position, we take a small step just to adjust ourselves. Rise, grasp the sparrow's tail, sink forward. Rise, hands rotate over. Turn a little bit to the left and rotate in. So now right palm up, left palm down. Final roll back to the left. And then turn back to this direction on the right or to the east. And then press. So press on the inside of your wrist. Press, rise, hands turn over, sink, hands separate. When you sink, we're not leaning. Remember, sink your tailbone down as you do that. Rise. Hands float up like going over a ball. And sink. And then push. Sink forward. Rise. Hands separate a little bit and sink. So in this position, remember the toe is up on the right leg. Left foot's at 45 degrees. Arms are shoulder width apart. And then from here, we rise on the rear leg, the left, and then we're going to turn the right foot because there's no weight on it. And then we can shift the weight on it and turn the left foot and continue turning to the diagonal. And then from here, we're going to sink and hold the Bhagavad fish. And you can't see that, of course, so I'm going to face this way so you can see. So turn get a little bit closer so you can see my hands turn and sink. So once again, the left arm is going to be just below waist level, curved, relaxed. Right hand, we make our little fist, I'm sorry, a little hook, touching the fingers. If you can touch all 4 fingers, that's probably the best way to do it, but I rarely do that. Touch at least, 3 or 2 fingers together. Relaxing your wrist. Your wrist, that's another thing people will often do is forget to relax their wrist. So just let your wrist relax. And so the position is like this. It's not down here. It's not like carrying something tight. It's rather big. Once again, the idea is like what we call the yin-yang symbol. It's actually called the Tai Chi symbol. And then from here, you rise. First part is just to rise. And then when you shift your weight onto the right leg, that's when your right hand swings out, left hand turns so the palm's facing you, and sink. This is carry the Bhagavad fish. Then most of our weight is on the right leg, okay? From there, we're going to rise, drawing up the left foot. I'll step back a little bit so you can see. And then sink. The hand comes in front of you. Let's go here, so it comes in front. Tiger's mouth is open. Turn this way so you can see. Tiger's mouth is open. And then you're going to step out, rise, and sink and turn and extend your arm. So when you step out, the other thing I want you to remember is that you are, in the application, you would be holding somebody's elbow and you're stepping under here to push your shoulder against the side of their ribs. So you imagine you have somebody here and you need to step behind them, okay? Because another common thing people do is they once again to step straight out and do this. When you do this, it's harder to complete your movement because you can't turn your body where it should be. So think about stepping behind somebody and then push with your shoulder, sink and turn. When you do this, if you have enough space there, you'll feel more comfortable as you turn your waist. Okay, I'm going to face this direction so you can try. So let's start from carrying the Bhagavad fish. So you rise up the left foot, sink, step out, shoulder push, sink and turn. Rise, right hand opens up, turn the left foot, hand floats down, sink on the left leg. Rise, pick up the foot, step out, raise hands. So, of course, you can't see that. So from here, I went, my hand opened up, left hand, which was palm out, is going to come across. Right hand opens up and it floats down, sinking on the left. Then I rise, and as my hand comes up, once again, it's kind of like being on a puppet. It's like they're connected, right? So you rise and step out and sink. And the hand position is going to be like so. So left hand is across from your elbow. Right hand is about shoulder height. Palms facing, and if you bring them together, you can see they're right in line. They should come out like this. So you're not having your hands far apart. It's not wide here. They're more or less in line with the center of your body. And then from here, raise hands, we push forward, turn the left heel in, roll back. And then we're going to step out, push with the shoulder, and sink on this leg. Arm swings out our toes of our left foot, turning, rise, and sink on the right leg. Okay, let me face this way so you can follow me. So from single lift, sink, rise, sink. step out, push forward, roll back, step out, push through the shoulders, sink on the right leg, turn the toes into the left foot, rise and sink. We end up facing the diagonal, sinking on the right leg. From here, white crane spreads its wings, which we went over a little bit. Rise, drawing up the left foot, turn a little bit to the northwest. Sink. Rise. Roll back on your left side, sinking on the right leg. Rise on the right leg, turn your left heel out a little bit. Put some weight on it, turn your right foot towards the north, turn your left hand over, roll back. And then your hands will turn over. So now your right palm up, left palm down. Step out, rise, sink and turn. We're back into our brush knees. So remember the sequence is brush knee, push, step forward, rise, and sink, play loop. Push forward, roll back, hands turn over, draw the foot in, step out, rise, sink and turn, brush knee. So brush knee, play loop, brush knee. It's the two beginning and last two. Then we're going to divide that and go to the other side. So bring the right foot forward, rise, hand comes up. Then we're going to step back toe first, right hand turns over, roll back. Draw the right foot in, step out, rise, sink and turn, brush knee, sink back, and finally push. Draw the foot forward, rise, step back, roll back, repeat. Just what we've done before. And push. We do play root again. Push. And roll back. Try to relax your shoulders. Just keep like you're floating in water. Rise. Sink and turn. For our last brush knee and push. I'm going to scoot back a little bit because I think I'm getting out of the camera. Push. So weight is forward. Then we're going to bring the right foot forward. And I want to show you this. Let's see. Here, the foot, once again, it's halfway up to your other one. It's not equal. It's just behind halfway. And then legs bent. So then rise on the right, hands float up, close the right hand, turn the left foot, deflect down, sinking on the left leg. Center yourself, step out heel first, rise, you're turning your waist as your arm comes across, turn the left foot, put some weight on it, turn the right foot all the way to the north if you can. If you can't, just turn it part way. Shift your weight forward, right hand is by the hip, step out, push, and push with a closed right hand. Rise. Left hand goes under, withdraw the arm. Push, sink forward, rise, turn the left foot, turn the right foot, and I'm going to turn sideways so you can see. Sink, right hand goes under. Now remember, when you're sinking, don't lean. We're not bending over like this. We want to sink our tailbone down, hands crossed. Rise. We shift our weight back on the left. Rise, draw the right foot up. Palms in, and then, once again, a little closer so you can see. Palms crossed, then just fold them in. And down, palms face behind. Rise, hands come out just a little bit, and then they just settle by your side. So we've gone over that a lot, but I think it's a good refresher to go over some of these beginning movements again, because You know, when you learn them, you pay attention to certain things. And I'd also recommend if you take the class over several times, and I usually tell everybody that when I studied Tai Chi, I studied with my teacher for 5 years, and every time he offered a beginning class, I took it again. I was always in the beginning class, and I always went from beginning to end, and I always found new things to learn. Even as sometimes it was very simple, just as much as like, oh, I point my heel towards my ankle. Just little details you pick up over time. But it starts to fit together better the more you practice, the more you go over it. It just becomes more natural too. And it's once again, and it's good practice too. If you take a class over, you're practicing more, and then you, of course, your memory is better. Okay, we've got just a little bit of time left. I didn't see that anybody had any questions in particular, but I think I've gone over everything pretty clear. I did mail everybody kind of a little survey. I was just, because this is the first Zoom class I've taught, I just would like to get some feedback. So, you know, over the weekend, if you have time, if you can just fill out simple questions like, how was the presentation? Could you see me, hear me clearly? Things like that, and suggestions about other things that, you know, that might help. So just a little feedback on what's going on with this. We've got just a few minutes left. Let's just go from the very beginning to the very end one last time, okay? Let's take a breath and sink. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the class. I'd just like to say that teaching on Zoom is of course different, and I think that I probably made you guys work harder than I would in a normal class, because in a class, I see you and I see people kind of getting tired of stuff, and I maybe give more breaks, and I don't really give you breaks here. So I think I appreciate you sticking through it all, and I hope you've learned a lot. So once again, fill out that survey form.